Hello everyone, Mayong Adlaw, and today I will discuss you another philosophy of education, and that has something to do still with the learner-centered philosophy. Okay, are you a fan of or are you a student-centered teacher, or are your schools following with exploratory experience learning? Then this philosophy is for you. I am talking about progressivism in education. Alright. So this is a student centered. In this video, I'll be talking about the purpose of progressivism in the classroom, in the curriculum, in the school settings, and also with the assessment. And also, I will be sharing to you the proponent of this philosophy. Let me just share my screen that time. Alright, so we're here in my presentation. First, I'll be defining to you what is really a progressivism for you to really understand. Progressivism concerned with the learning by doing. Okay, are you a fan of peer or collaboration or collaborative activity or group activity? Then that is one example of progressivism. It is learning by doing and supports supports that children learn best when pursuing their own interests and satisfying their own needs. Again, since this philosophy is following with teacher-centered, you are acting like a facilitator. Progressivists believe that education should focus on the whole child rather than the content or the teacher. So now, if you are this type of teacher, so you let the students discover, you let the students explore. They learn if you have an activity sheets. They learn if you will conduct a debate, a collaborative activities. This because again they have their own perspective on the concept. This educational philosophy stresses that the students should test ideas by active experimentation. Learning is rooted in the question of learners that are arises experiencing through the world. Example, during the activity, of course, they you let the students to brainstorm and all the questions will arise and you as a teacher, you are just going to answer those questions. Or else, you let other students or classmates, you let their other classmates to answer also the questions because they have their experiences. That is um, an initiative of being a progressivist teacher. Who founded this educational movement? The movement had its rooted in the thought of many people, but the major founders were Francis Parker and John Dewey, both of whom refined their educational ideas here. Progressive philosophy was based on the optimistic view of human nature. Progressivists, progressive schools avoided the regimentations that characterized most schools of the era. The children who attended progressive schools learned in informal settings. All right. So here, if there are informal learning, but again, that becomes um their the learning that they have, or it is a lifelong learning. It will the learning will arise informal or formal. That is according to Christian Carter. And another is what is the purpose of progressivist in schooling. Progressivist believes the purpose of schooling should not be about competition. That should not be about competition, but about being able to cooperate, being able to develop problem solving. All right. So now, if you are going to check your mission and vision, are there's alignment? All right. Are my graduates or problem solver or a decision maker? And they should master decision making skills, and that is a major part of progressivism. And what progressivists believe, our textbook says, Dewey envision such as democratic community, right? to be pluralistic in nature and include moral, economic, educational, and political goals. If you are involved or if you are part of the institution, private institution or public institution following with the progressivists or progressive schools, then you will not judge students right away because you believe that you have a lot, you have a diverse students. Then based on their moral, economic, educational, and political goals, they have their own point of view, and that is the purpose of schooling. You as a teacher now will act like you really understand the situations of every student. Another, sa learner, ano naman kaya yung nature ng progressively sa ating learners? While I am reading the material from the Foundation of American Education, I learned that progressivist is known as learning by doing, as I mentioned a while ago, learning by doing. Progressivism let the students be involved in an active in learning and working to solve problem. Working to solve problem. So you will not just discuss and so on. You give them time to explore. Example, you give content. You will discuss about photosynthesis. You give the concept, but you let the students discover as to how this photosynthesis works. And that is a progressivism. You let the students discover. They have their own point of view also. All right. And this let the students be capable of establishing rules for classroom and finding ideas on how to develop problem solving and decision making skills. If you are an advisor or if you are an administrator in your school or in a small scale, if you are an advisor, you let the students craft their own rules and regulation. But saan papasok yung pagiging teacher mo is that if you really follow those rules na binigay nila. So if you are this progressivist teacher, so sabihin mo, okay class, good morning, and since this is our first day of class, then we'll make a rules and regulation in our class, and you ask the students kung ano yung gusto nila na rules. If gusto nila na 15 minutes or 10 minutes before the time, and if gusto nila na collaborative activity, and then so be it. We give justice sa idea ng ating mga students. That is in terms of learners, right? What I mean is that you give privilege to your students, right? Next is, ano naman kaya yung purpose ng progressivism or this philosophy in the curriculum? Accordingly, learner describe the curriculum as a child curriculum. Accordingly, describe the curriculum, not the teacher. Okay, hindi si teacher magsasabi na photosynthesis is a process and so on. The students will now share about photosynthesis. So ngayon, sila yung nagdi-describe sa curriculum. So that is curriculum centered, peer centered. So you decide an activity na pwede sila mag-pair, mag-discuss and so on. And also it is block centered, action centered. That's why kapag progressivist teacher ka, walang boring kasi nga you really plan of an activity. You really plan of a collaborative activity, what I mean. Alright? So the process and change centered, equally centered, and also community centered. This would make the students learn in a different way, and they would experience science by exploring their immediate physical world. All students would learn in a social, that kind of way na gusto nila. Alright? That is the curriculum in terms of, that is progressivist in terms of curriculum. Another is, if we do an instructional methods, if we discuss already, ano kayo yung stand ng isang teacher? As I read this book, The Foundation of American Education, I found that teachers who use the philosophy progressivism should teach and plan lessons that deal with group activities. Right? Plan and think or deal with the group activities. These activities that the teacher plans should be able to help the students use their mind through problem solving. they work together and use each other minds. Okay, example, if magkakonduct ako ng group activity and then I let my students to really talk, to really share their ideas. And that is a progressivist teacher. These activities that the teacher plans should be able to help the students use their mind through problem solving, that they work together and use each other minds. This project should be centered around their own lives, what effective energetic. The book also states that the teaching is exploratory. Alright? So sasabihin natin na kung ano yung nasa book, hindi yun ang ituturo mo, hindi yun ang babasahin mo, hindi yun ang isusulat mo sa board. Kung hindi, you let the students explore kung ano yung meron doon sa concept na yun. Right? Rather than explanatory. That is according to Biles in 1966. Another is, in a classroom setting, ano naman kaya yung purpose ng progressivism? In a progressivist class, the classroom is a very active classroom. Okay, imagine titingnan natin, it is a very active classroom. The class is more self-directed. The class is more self-directed by their students. The teachers have the focus on the students as an individual. Right? The teacher now, again, please, I want you to remember this one. You, the teacher, is focused on the self as an individual. You will not judge if yung students mo is mahirap. You will not judge if the students mo is hindi marunong magbasa kasi baka iba yung background niya and so on. You as a teacher, you have the students para makabasa siya. Okay? So, and it makes it better to see the students develop. The classroom will also focus on the democracy environment. Democracy environment. What is a democracy environment? They have the freedom to really explore the concept. Alright? So, that is a progressivism philosophy. Alone, the management in the classroom, they would take assure that get parents active and a student's education. And that is the role of progressivism. What if naman sa assessment? Anong type ng assessment yung ibibigay natin? According to the text, Foundation of America Education, 6th edition, assessment deals with monitoring. Right? Are you familiar with rubrics? If you have the rubrics, then you can monitor. If you're familiar with para bang observational assessment, right? You observe kung nag-grow or natuto ba yung mga bata. So what the students are doing and appraising what skills the students still need to learn. Yan yung palagi mga, ano ba yung kailangan pa ng bata? Ano ba yung kailangan pa ng ano? So, individualistic learning. Titingnan mo yung isang students, if okay na ba siya dito sa problem solving, okay na ba siya sa multiplication, sa addition, then let's move on. Okay na ba siya sa photosynthesis, and punta tayo doon sa Calvin cycle, dark or whatever topics that you think na kailangan ng bata. The assessment, my opinion, keeps track of all things in the classroom. Like the book says, it monitors. Okay, monitors what the students are doing and what they still need to learn. All students should learn as much as they can be successful. Your goal is, you will not judge if kung paano siya natuto, basta magiging successful and magiging yun sa kanya, magiging tulong yun sa kanya, and then that's fine. If any problem occur in an education process, then the progressiveness may use or deal with the problems. That is how we handle assessment. So progressivist teacher, this one, you act like if you really want to become a progressivist, hindi na naman natin na gusto na maging progressivist. It's up sa approach mo. Okay, sa loob ng classroom. This is a progressivist teacher. This kind of teacher that serves more as a guide, and they facilitate learning by assisting students to sample direct experiences. The progressivist teachers work beyond an individual in the classroom. This kind of teacher would be good with making group decisions and keeping in their mind the consequence for the students, how it may or may not benefit them. The teacher's role is to help his or her students acquire the values of the democratic system. Okay, that is your role as a future teacher or as a teacher. So, education leading to educational proponents. Dewey dealt with the progressivism as he emphasized the individual learning, teacher-student interaction, was very important to Dewey. And in my opinion, I believe the same, even though after World War II, progressivism felt that it's never left and still in today's school. The textbooks also the states, the collation. Schools promote personalized instruction to address individual needs and interests. Small schools and classrooms where teachers and students know each other well and work in the atmosphere of trust and high expectation. Multiple assessment based on the performance and authentic tasks. Democratic and equitable school policies and practice. Democratic. All right. Next is close partnership with the school community. That's according to Taylor Manderfield and Brandon Stapleton. All right. Thank you so much for today, and I hope that you learned something new. And if you are a progressive teacher, I want you to comment down. And thank you, and see you in my next video. Bye.